You can't be a fanboy on these flights. Honestly, good for him for getting this gig, you know? Probably a dream come true. But, you know, at the end of the day, you got to be a pro. And a pro is keeping your mouth shut about team flight stuff. This week, these two old comms pros had our radar raised when a sideline reporter divulged what is supposed to be private content on the team charter.
We know when you're on flights, this is a well-known thing. Like, it's a cardinal rule to break. Yeah, and like you said, like, there's got to be accountability for that end as well.
After calming down and evaluating the situation, we then get into why the story has so many layers to it and how it gets to the heart of the 21st century conundrum between team PR personnel and outside media. Hey, I'm all for being open with the media, but it's instances like this where teams decide it's just not worth it. Like, if I'm a PR guy, I don't want to be yelled at by my GM. I don't want to be yelled at by my president. I don't want that. So what am I going to do? I'm going to tighten the screws on media access. It's now the most wonderful time of the year, which in the business world means Christmas bonuses and dreaming of pools. Instead, for most working in sports, it's a big nothing burger. We think that needs to stop. It probably is like Clark Griswold. You're probably like, oh man, we made the finals. I'm going to get this huge, huge bonus. And nothing comes. So, jelly of the month.
Maybe that's why they got rid of Luka.
Maybe, that's right. Luka didn't get a playoff bonus. Deuces, I'm out. This is the true story of two washed-up sports guys who chased the dream, private flights, championship rings, running sideline to sideline on per diem and adrenaline.
We gave our 20s and our 30s to the industry, pulled off miracles that were never in the job description. In return, low pay, long hours, and we still got cut from the team.
This is about what really happens behind the badge. The burnout, the bad bosses, the dream job that didn't love you back, but also the lifelong friendships, the chaos, the holy shit stories you couldn't make up. And somehow, despite everything, you'd still do parts of it all over again.
This is one for the ones who lived it, loved it, hated it, and still kind of miss it. For everyone who's ever asked, how in the hell did we survive that? We're two former sports insiders with more than 40 years of experience and more than enough scars to make fun of it all.
And just enough trauma to start a podcast instead of going to therapy.
I'm Brandon Barca.
And I'm Andy Boggs.
And this is No Longer Credentialed. We once had access, now we have opinions. Welcome back to the show, people. Your very own secret society of the No Longer Credentialed. And we have to say, we've been loving our listener mail, especially all the TikTok comments about our recently signed sponsorship deal with StaffDuel, the app where people working in sports can place prop bets on their department's dysfunction. And a few of you sick degenerates even sent us prop bets of your own, and the wagers are already piling up. Boggsy, I know you're not on TikTok. Probably never will be.
No.
So I wanted to get your reaction and betting advice to some of these comments. First, Justin's prop. Over under 10.5 radio calls to the event staff for an emergency, in quotes, or problem that is literally nothing. Boggs, are you taking the over under 10.5?
I have to take the over. You know, although, and I don't mean to out myself here, I've never been on those radios to hear that stuff. I can't imagine how crazy it is.
EJ's touched a little bit on it, but we might in a future episode need to get an event ops person on, because I can only imagine it's probably like one of those like Nashville 911 shows or cops.
Yeah.
Everything that you're hearing on the radio, all the chatter, all the drink spills, or somebody falling down, or somebody being upset because somebody's standing up in front of them.
Yep. Or having to wait like an hour to go to the bathroom, or, you know, that type of deal.
There are lots of things that bother people when they're paying good money to attend your event. But I was going to ask you, but since you've never been on the radio, what kind of salary they would have to pay you?
Oh, my gosh.
Would it be 6 figures, 7 figures?
Yeah, it would have
8
to be
figures
6 figures
to have to listen to the event staff radio every game, just people hopping on and off the entire game, the constant chatter.
Yeah, that would be tough, man. That would be really tough. Then you don't even get to watch the game. I think that's one thing that maybe we took advantage of is like our job was to watch the game. And when you're on these radios and you're working events, you probably don't get to see any of the game. So that would be kind of a bummer. But yeah, it'd have to probably be six figures for me to step into that role.
I would love to see you wearing the earpiece, just listening like, Bob, we got something down here in section G.
Gosh. You'd see steam come on my ears for about 3 hours.
Yeah. You're like, please unsubscribe me.
Yes, I'm out.
From this walkie.
Yeah, I'm out.
All right, we've got one more prop, this time offered up by Wade. Over under 3.5 Domino's medium pizzas in the media room. You might know about this, Boggs. I mean, are you going to ride the over or under on this one?
I got to bang the over. We had some hungry media members. And also, too, we would end up feeding most of our staffers. And that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But, yeah, I would have to bang the over there. 3.5 medium pizzas. How many people would that feed? Like 8? We would have people in there monitoring, like if we had chicken fingers or, things like that. But the pizza, we just kind of let people have free reign. And I never was really keeping track of how much we got, but it was more than 3.5. And they were large. They weren't mediums. They were large and in charge.
I don't know if it's the holiday spirit, but monitoring the pizzas is a very kind term. I thought of it more as Seinfeld, the soup Nazi in the kitchen, guarding, protecting the pizzas.
The people that would help in our media rooms, they would hide them back in the back, and they would only put out like 2 or 3 at a time. And they were really nice, too, because, for a lot of us, sometimes you go in the media room, food's gone. If you're working a game and it's like 45 minutes before tip and you need to go, you want to eat something real fast. Sometimes the food was gone, but they would do a good job of keeping maybe a box or half a box or something back in the back. We had a wide variety of pizza sponsors, too. Shout out to them throughout the years that I worked in the business. I mean, it ranged from mainly Papa John's was kind of they were the main sponsors. We had Jets at one time. We had a lot of people that were not Jets fans.
Our good friends at Jets Pizza, shout out.
Yeah, I mean, some people like it, some people don't. A lot of us in the comms room, we didn't like it. We had Donato's at one time, I think. That was good.
Mellow Mushroom.
Square bangers. Mellow Mushroom. We were Mellow. Mellow was proud for a while.
Those were special days.
They were. Who else am I missing? We never did Pizza Hut. We never did Little Caesars or anything, did we?
No pizza.
So yeah, 3.5 medium Domino's, dude. Who are you feeding?
Hey, look,
you feeding like your stat crew?
You're forgetting, Boggs. You're forgetting your early days when there was no budget. People were skimping on stuff like this, taking away stuff like this, and
we had no media.
Skimping on pizza on a Tuesday night, 8:00 game against High Point during winter break. Yeah. And they're rolling out like basically 2 pizzas and a couple slices from the game before. So,
dude, do you remember we would have like when the really like skimpy days, like right now, where there'd be nobody around, we would have like the canned chili and canned cheese, and it was like they'd go to the concession stand and grab some bags of nacho chips and bring it down. We always fed people, but we would always go places, and there would be places where they just give you a voucher, like here's $10 for the concession stand. Go get chicken. Go get what you want. And so they wouldn't staff it, but we staffed. We did a good job with our media meals, man. There were some days where we just blew it out of the water. And some days we didn't, but a lot of days people would come there and eat good.
Some of the days, I'm surprised about your memory on this.
Yeah.
There were stretches where all we would have is like Papa John's pizza for a long, long time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And
it's like my red sauce story. Yeah. You get tired of it.
That type of pizza was awesome when I was in college. Outside of that, I got no time for it.
But when you have it like 3 nights a week, you're working a Wednesday night basketball game and then a Saturday night, well, maybe twice a week. And again, by the end of the season, you're like, man, no more pizza. I'm done. But it was easy. Order it up, deliver it. There it is. Maybe I'm a snob, though.
This
I'm
positive
a media room
attitude by you.
snob.
You're like, we had a wealth of riches in food.
I mean, not all the time, but I think sometimes near the end, we got good with our media meals. Not as good. Like when I first started my first full-time job, I mean, we would have steaks and stuff. We would do our media days in the summertime.
Steaks? What are you talking about?
Let me tell you. So we would have it in the football stadium, and these guys would come out with grills, and this was a steakhouse, and they would just sit out there and grill steaks, and people would just crush steaks for media days. It was awesome, man. We ate like kings at that place. They were a proud partner, so we took advantage of it.
We're talking
I
like
put on about 20 pounds when I worked there.
Salisbury steaks from Chet Steadman.
No, these are like ribeyes, dude. These are legit.
I can't believe this. I can't believe this. You're
It's so true.
Over on the food, and then you're telling us you had steak. So
yeah, we would have steaks.
Maybe we should start
delicious.
Putting a lot of doubt into, past complaints about working in athletics. And maybe when we start talking about bonuses, playoff bonuses and Christmas bonuses at the end of the episode, I don't know, maybe the steaks accounted for that.
Yeah. Well, again, then I have this red sauce aversion that you'd have every March. I mean, there's trade-offs. So then you don't want to see pizza again until September. But yeah, overall, I think I have a pretty positive memory of food. Yeah, I do. I'm going to say it.
You get it.
The topic for our main segment today wasn't on our radar. Well, that was until we had our pre-show call yesterday, and the Boggs-o-meter had a 5-alarm fire.
It was up there.
He was mad as hell, people, and he's not going to take it anymore. Hopefully he's cooled down a little today. So we had no other choice other than to move this to the main segment. He was so mad, he even threw his former sports PR pro hat across the room. He chucked it.
Yeah.
So let's get into the details first so we all understand what happened before Boggs sounds off. Will Bowling is employed by 104.5 The Zone in Nashville for a morning sports talk radio show. The station is also the flagship of the Tennessee Titans, with Bowling serving as the team's sideline reporter during game broadcasts. And that duty includes our favorite part of the job, at least mine, traveling with the team on a private charter. The best days. Hey, look, the Titans have had some miserable seasons of late, which led them to drafting the new face of their franchise, quarterback Cam Ward, with the number 1 overall pick back in April. Their head coach got fired mid-season, and media and fans have been swarming the Hornets' nest and questioning the state of the franchise, starting with ownership and senior execs, asking if there is accountability in an org that has only 18 wins since Mike Vrabel was let go in 2021.
Wow.
18.
That's not very many.
Not great, Bob. So at this point, you might be asking yourself, where does this all take an unfortunate turn? Well, first, you should know that Cam Ward wasn't thrilled with his team's performance in his post-game presser after the win over lowly Cleveland. And rightfully so. They're 2-11. So Easton Freeze, a blogger from A to Z Sports, used Ward's presser quotes and then shaped his narrative for his story around a behind-the-scenes nugget on the team plane from the sideline reporter. Again, Will Bowling had reported on his morning radio show following the game. Now, I should say, Freeze's blog, which I think was poorly written and lacking journalistic integrity, was still savvy enough to sensationalize his headline to draw more viewers. He titled the article, "Don't Listen to Cam. Titans veteran uses team plane intercom to address Cam Ward's polarizing post-game energy after beating the Browns." The graph in that story that stands out, on the team plane ride home, Bowling told his co-host that Titans linebacker Arden Key got on the intercom and said, "Y'all enjoy this. Don't listen to what Cam said. Y'all enjoy this. It's hard to win in this league. Enjoy it." Did the story go away from this? No, it then heated up as Titans journalist Paul Kaharski then amplified it to his audience on Twitter, saying, first, Titans radio foolishly split sideline reporter job in half. Now their road guy breaks the sanctity of an off-record flight. Titans surely are not happy with their network or the zone. Big loss of credibility and trust. If I'm Arden Key, Cam Ward, Mike McCoy, and other senior execs at the Titans, I'd be pissed about this. An amateur knows a sideline reporter has no business talking about what happens with the team on the plane. A day later, Gaharski followed it up, reporting that Bowling had been removed from future team flights. Bowling later apologized for telling a story that should have been off the record and hopes to work to regain the team's trust. Boggsy, there's really a lot to unpack here, so many layers, so let's start with this. At first, why did this story make you so mad?
Well, there's a lot of layers to this, but just as a PR pro, you are going to get hit from everyone internally asking you why. First off, why is this guy on the plane? And second, did you talk to him about not, saying off the record things? And it just kind of personifies what a PR guy has to do in season. You're balancing dealing with people outside the organization and people inside the organization. You're balancing people complaining about access, and then you are having to deal with people who take advantage of their access. There's just a lot of layers to it. And, I'm going to say I like what Kaharski did, and he's totally right about what he said. Personally, I don't think the guy should be allowed on the plane. It looks like he's been banned, which he's got to travel on his own to all these different places. But, to me, I think he should be replaced with someone new altogether. He's since apologized for disclosing this information on the radio, as he should have. But I think if I'm the Titans, I'm still trying to figure out a way to get away from him for next year. But, so like I mentioned before, this story has some deeper meaning in sports PR and the rules that go behind access, who gets credentialed, and the balancing act team sports PR personnel have to walk between outside media and inner parties, coaches, players, GMs, owners. Because if I were an owner and a GM this week, I'd probably be giving my comms person an earful and asking a lot of questions. So let's go through some of the layers here, Barca. Layer 1. What this guy did really is inexcusable, and he probably would be getting a call from me once I heard that these types of stories were getting out, and it wouldn't be a happy call. Most times, if there was someone on the plane not affiliated with the team, it is the job of the PR person with the team to inform them that the plane is off limits to social media and reporting. Most people know this already, at least most PR people assume, but in this case, the sideline reporter has a journalism degree and decided to spill the beans. Did someone tell him that this type of information is not for public knowledge? Barca, you knew when you were on the plane what you could and could not say, what you could and could not report on, what you could and could not put on social media. And this guy's technically a member of the team. He's paid by the Titans, I believe, Titans Radio. And so that is a big, big red flag to me. I just wanted to get your take on what were your thoughts when you were on a team plane?
I was very self-aware, first of all, not to do anything, obviously, to upset the environment on the actual flight. Lay low. Yeah. You don't want to get called out for anything. That's just even talking to somebody else on a plane. You don't want to be loud, You want to make sure you're sitting in the right area. You just don't want to be a distraction at all. It's like a referee during a football game. You don't want to know the ref's name because if you do, it's probably because you've been cursing profanities.
Right.
But also, from a content perspective, back in 2006, 7, 8, before social really took off, I was blogging all the time. And a lot of it was behind-the-scenes stuff on postseason trips. And I was very aware of keeping in mind, the viewpoint of what it's like to be a player or a coach. And, you ride that line because selfishly you want to do really good content, but you also have to remember that there's a larger picture to all of this.
Yeah.
And so being part of the team, we're just drilled with it day in and day out, right? Like we know, I'm not saying we're walking on eggshells with our teams, but we know it can be eggshells if something goes bad, and it can ultimately affect our status in a department, and you don't want that
Yeah.
access removed. When I'd blog, if I felt there was anything questionable, I would always run it by you guys or the football SID, and I'd be like, hey, is this off limits or not? Or sometimes we're like, hey, just read this, make sure there's nothing. I'm not saying anything about that's not public information. But I would find like little things like, this basketball player was playing, Words with Friends on the way to the school. But I'd probably check with you still and say like, hey, is this person in good standing right now? They're not, is that going to sound bad? Is it okay to say that? I would find stuff that there wouldn't be some sort of like bad result from. I think in this situation, if I put myself in the shoes of Bowling, and I can't speak for him because he said an apology or released a statement online. But, we are in those moments sometimes where, a team's been struggling all year. And, as we'll talk about, like a team playing is just known as off limits. But you have a moment like that. Maybe you're forgetting about the overall narrative about the team right now. Maybe that people are questioning accountability. They've had some losing seasons. And maybe you're just like, oh, man, I'm on this flight. And there's this just funny moment where a guy got on the PA comm and said, like, oh, yeah, just ignore this. It's just a way that they were celebrating.
Yeah.
And you're losing sight for that fun moment where you want to tell a story of like, okay, this is the face of our franchise as quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
We got to be very protective right now because our fan base has been through a ton. Firing a coach this year, just been all sorts of turnover. And so from that perspective, like, I have a little bit of grace, but still, we know when you're on flights, this is a well-known thing. Like, it's a cardinal rule to break. Yeah, and like you said, like, there's got to be accountability for that end as well.
It's the dynamics of the team, I mean, that's just something that now you could ask them maybe at their next availability, maybe not about that, but maybe you ask about, Cam's leadership style and can you guys get on him about things and joke around and your relationship and things like that. But just to report something from the team playing is just an absolute no-no. Man, as a PR guy, there's nothing that really gets your blood boiling more than someone taking advantage of that access, right? So
how much of a nightmare is that?
I mean, it helped that he sent out his apology, but it took him too long, if you ask me. He should have picked up the phone and probably made a phone call to the PR person and then maybe to the coach. I don't know if he did that or not. But as a PR person, you're hearing it from everybody internally. You're hearing it from the GM, probably. You're hearing it from the coach. The player might call you and say, what the hell, man? Like, what's going on here? And this is kind of beyond your scope because you didn't hire this person. This is not a person of your staff, but they're a member of the team. And the media, you're the person that people know in the media to contact about issues like this. It's just it's a bad spot for a PR person.
The reason I said nightmare is because you're now in week probably 14 of a long season. And now you're having to deal with sort of a shit show thing that's come up that's unexpected in the middle of a game week that's going to add on, that's going to go all the way to the top.
Yeah, it's just more on your plate. And again, it's not a good situation to be in. And let's get to this next. The next layer is this. Oh, actually, I wanted to ask you this. So, I mean, personally, I think that I don't think I'd feel comfortable with this guy being our sideline reporter anymore if I was the comms guy. I just wouldn't be. It's just too many. Who knows? Maybe he does it again. He's got a daily radio show. Who knows what slips? He probably didn't do this on purpose. So I've kind of backed off my 5-alarm fire because, he sent that apology. So I don't think he did it on purpose. But
Tin Man has a heart, people.
He does. But, like it could happen. He's in that position that something could slip. I just would probably be looking elsewhere. So, but I wanted to ask you because you've worked on the pro side. I've never worked in pro sports. But how much are GMs and execs paying attention to this type of stuff?
GMs are a different breed, man.
Yeah.
They know everything that's going on, eyes and ears everywhere. So let's kind of break down what happens behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I mean, you as the comms lead for your team, you're just going to be part of this just for this initial wave of it. Then it's going up to whoever's over external, your GM's getting involved, potentially your CEO, because once your head coach is probably not happy as well. It's a bad look, especially on the personnel side. So like the GM, man, you don't want to get on their bad side. And when they put their foot down about something, especially when it comes to people in like marketing and comms, you're not going to get much support from your superiors. So at this point, the GM's going to be like, this is unacceptable. I mean, the GM's just drafted this quarterback.
Right.
And now all this press has come out that was a self-inflicted wound, really. Not by them, but by a sideline reporter on the flight. So the GM sitting in there with whoever the VP of external is and figuring out, okay, what are we going to do with this? And I'm sure as this built up, once the GM's involved, I'm sure either like the president or CEO or somebody's going to be involved in it as well. And they're figuring out what the solution is and what's, probably like when we talked yesterday, like letting you get out how pissed off you are and then figuring out what's going to happen. But GMs and team ops people are very protective about team flights. So for example, I've been at places before when I've had videographers that I need to get on the team flight, and we've got a seat for like 1 or 2, whatever it is. And they're flying throughout the season, and the team gets comfortable with like, okay, these are people that are part of their travel party. It's actually, sometimes they're maniacal about it, but I get it. I get why they're this way. Mm-hmm. They want to be able to trust the people that are around them, and nothing that's going to upset anything with the team or serve as a distraction. And so if I get a new videographer in the middle of the year, they'll be like, yeah, we don't want to, I've had this happen. We don't want to have a new videographer on the flight in the middle of the year. So you're just going to have to keep rotating your 2, even though they might be burned out based on all of the other work that they have to get done day in and day out. And so those are the types of things that, I mean, a lot of times that's your ops person that they don't even want to go to the table with their GM on that, right? They're like, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to tell these marketing content clowns over here, forget that. But it's almost maniacal how in control they are of everything in their environment. And you know that too. It's with closed practices. And we talk about all of these things. And I think the bigger point to all this, Joe Dubin spoke about it, about how media are getting less and less access compared to 20, 25 years ago. But that's one of the big alarms about all of this is a situation like this happens. And what's going to happen from a GM and everything else is, you know what they're going to do? They're not going to expand everything to do more. Man. They're going to tighten everything up because of this one situation. And GMs do that. And if it was something that happened in my department, I'm thinking like, well, I can't go back to the table on X, Y, or Z now. I've got to pick my spots, and I got to figure out what I want to bother them with at this point because they're probably not too happy with my department if our department was responsible for an issue like this that became public.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of comes to mind. I think about, and I don't know this for sure, but there are rumors there were some college basketball teams who made their radio SID. At the time, it was just radio and SID. You didn't have videographers and photographers and all that. They had to fly commercial. They weren't allowed on the plane. And so, hey, I'm all for being open with the media, but it's instances like this where teams decide it's just not worth it. Like if I'm a PR guy, I don't want to be yelled at by my GM. I don't want to be yelled at by my president. I don't want that. So what am I going to do? I'm going to tighten the screws on media access because I don't want to have to deal with that because people can't be responsible. At the end of the day, people cannot be responsible. And whether this guy made a mistake or not, it still sends a message to those players that maybe this space is not what it should be. The team plane should be a sacred place where you could, after a game, if you want to crack a beer or if you want to play poker with your friends or do this or do that, like you shouldn't have to be thinking about who's on the plane and who's going to report it. And that's where I kind of get, I don't know. I just think that's where the question is, and that's why this story kind of hit me so hard. It's like the 21st century media question for PR people. Do I allow more access to get more people to pay attention, or do I have to close it because people can't follow the rules? I mean, I don't know. Maybe their PR guy, every time they get on the plane, he tells them, hey, listen, all this stuff here is off. It's off limits. It's off the record. It cannot be reported on. Like Kaharski said in some of his replies to the tweets, he said, if I wanted to be on a team plane, I probably could, but I don't. That's just not who I am as a reporter. I'm not going to report. I'm not going to sit on my hands of things that I see. I'm a reporter. I'm a neutral party. I'm not part of the team. At the end of the day, I just think that's what this all comes down to, is the fact that media members complain and complain and complain about access, and then they do shit like this. That's the problem.
Well, it's a domino effect. Like one person ruins it for all, and the recovery time is not overnight.
And to me, Kaharski did a good thing, because I don't think anybody else called this guy out in the media, but what this guy did is going to limit your access. So you need somebody to step up and say, hey, listen, what this guy did is wrong. That is a sacred place. The Titans should be mad. Now, whether the Titans have made any, discussions about this, I don't know. But I'm glad Kaharski said it. It helps the whole media landscape in the Nashville area, because it kind of lends some more credibility to what they do every day. And Kaharski busts his ass. Like, he's at all the practices. He's at all the games. He's the OG when it comes to reporting on that team, I think. He was one of the first people to go out on his own and make his own website. He got fired from ESPN, starts to do his own thing. Very successful, very well known. And that's his reputation. He knows if he doesn't say something, that could cost him his access. So there's a lot of layers to this, man. A ton of layers, and PR guys got to deal with all of it.
I want to know, from your own experience, what do you think the team's responsibility is in all of this? How did you personally handle prepping someone new traveling? And again, it's the sideline reporter has been on the flight many times, but when you were responsible for a new person that would be on a team flight, did you read them the riot act? What was your conversation with that person?
I would honestly say I never did. I just kind of trusted people to do, and that was my fault. I could have got my ass burnt. But I was trying to think back in my career where I may have had someone say something that they saw in a practice. A few times we would just, like, a media member would say, hey, listen, can I work here after the availability? I won't pay it any attention. I'm going to sit here and write my story. It's like, sure, I would sit there with him. And, he would write a story, and, 99.9% of the time, nothing would happen. But one time, one of our really good players twisted his ankle pretty badly. And he ended up reporting it, I think, in the next day's preview. Man, not good. Not good for probably him, and not good for me, because I heard about it. But he's just doing his job, right? And that was just me being a nice guy. Hey, just go ahead and work here. But at the end of the day, it kind of burnt me a little bit. I can't remember if we won or we lost the next day. But, it's just stuff like that. I mean, they have a job to do, and you have a job to do, and it's kind of an unwritten job. You don't want to get yelled at. And that's kind of what my whole deal was. I just wanted to keep my life as simple as possible. And sometimes that meant, hey, media, you just can't come in right now.
I would travel with a lot of different teams, and so I would get to see the SIDs of the different teams behind the scenes. And there were some that would sort of read the riot act to anybody new and saying, like, hey, look, this is X, Y, and Z, what you can or can't do. It's kind of like, I equate it to, it's like the ticket office when you're like, hey, man, our team's playing Georgia this weekend, and I've got a friend that's a diehard Georgia fan, and I've got these staff tickets, or can I have a couple extra tickets? And what does the ticket office usually tell you? Or they'll tell you every time.
Yeah, they can't wear opposing colors.
Don't cheer, especially if it's in a staff section and all these things. And sometimes people would break those rules and get penalized for it. But it was known. It's just like one of those things that's known. And it's the same thing with the team flight. Like, it's a sacred place.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Speaking of that ticket thing, I had some friends who wanted to come see a game. They were fans of the opposing team. I forgot to tell them, hey, you can't root for the opposing team. They showed up to the team ticket gate with the other team's gear on.
Man. You were
And
the guy that ruined it for everybody else.
And the ticket person, I was really close with the ticket person at the time, and they called me and said, hey, I hate to be this way, but these people you left tickets for, they're wearing the opposing team's. I cannot let them have tickets. Like, perfectly understandable. I'm coming up. So luckily the game wasn't sold out. So I came up and told them, I was like, guys, I hate to do this, but I can't give you these tickets if you're wearing that gear. There's tickets available, so you can go buy tickets, but it's just like having a little bit of common sense. But people just thought, hey, I got free tickets to the game. I'll just go the way I want to go. But yeah, that happened to me one time, and that served as a lesson. Like, anytime I was going to get tickets for somebody, I would tell them right from the jump, like, hey, you cannot root for the opposing team. You can't wear other team's colors. Can't do any of that, or I'll get in big, big, big trouble.
It is a learning moment. Like, I would think if this same flight issue happened to me, you hate to learn the hard way, but
yeah.
And it seemed like his apology was sincere. Who knows?
It was.
I don't know him personally. Mm-hmm. And I like to have grace and give the benefit of the doubt, but I do think like the best thing to do is separate the two for the year. It's interesting how that whole setup is well too. And I don't know who's responsible on the team side of things when it comes to sideline reporters, but when you have a relationship with the flagship station's probably going to have recommendations and say, this is who we'd like to use for the sideline reporter. And then the team's going to have to sign off on it.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's another layer, is that this happens everywhere. This doesn't just happen with the Titans. This happens with major college teams and other pro teams, where they'll have somebody who has a local radio show or has a blog or is a well-known name, and that's just the best person you think for the job. And you literally just take a chance that they're not going to say anything. You can maybe have them sign something or give them the riot act every time, or I don't know. But so the question would be, our team's going to start reining that in? Are they going to start? They're probably not from this incident. This is just something that two old comms pros saw and just kind of raised our eyebrows. But does it, constrict your credential access? Does it restrict who gets on your team playing? Like, how do you think this could play out moving forward? So that was the kind of another layer for me. It was just like, this could have some repercussions in not just in our market, but just maybe on the business overall.
It can have repercussions on your team. The GM could just say, you know what? We're not approving anybody to be on a team flight.
Yep.
And we've seen it before. I mean, you know how sacred those moments are. I mean, you've been on, you've had times even as SID where you weren't allowed to travel on the team bus and you were holed up in a car driving 4 hours with the athletic trainer. Like, they can really pull back. Hopefully there's somebody, either the CEO or on the team side, that can settle things down.
Yeah.
Get back on the same page. But, there are some of these situations too where people's jobs could be on the line. Like, I can't speak for the Titans situation, but if you are responsible on the team side for this person or any situation like this that blows up in the public, and you get on the bad side of the star player, you get on the bad side of the coach, even if it wasn't directly you doing it, man, cat's got 9 lives. I'm sure SID's the same way. And at some point they're just like, you know what? We got to get rid of this person. And I think that's why your job as a comms pro is so difficult, because you're having to make so many different parties happy while you're still trying to protect your livelihood,
your own ass.
Because I think of like this, I think that the blogger from A to Z Sports, and I don't know if this person has credentials to go to the games, but I'd be thinking about like, this person now just put out this crazy article in a fan's voice, basically. You can say they're a reporter if you want. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
But it goes back to that now. Like, if that person is credentialed, you're like, Boggs, there were times where you had heart, where you'd hand out more credentials.
Oh, yeah.
But there were also times where you're like, you know what? I'm I'm making sure that person's not in the press conference to upset the coach or the GM for the quote that comes out of it and they read on the website the next day or the paper or wherever, the social media. Maybe you did have a point back in the day to be real careful and protector about who you let in through those doors.
Yeah, I mean, because we talked about this before, but we had a whole 2-sheeter of requirements that you would have to get credentials to our games. And then you look back on it, you're like, man, that was probably too damn strict, Like, we need all the help we can get telling our story and reporting on our kids. But then you have shit like this happen. You're like, nah, dude, we did the right thing because we're trying to keep distractions to a minimum. The Titans, this is the last thing they want. It's the last thing. And it's just it's an issue, man. I mean, it's not like back in the day where, the SEC would fly journalists around on a plane from place to place. I think it's called, I forgot what it was called, but they would go from campus to campus to do media days. I believe that's the way they did media days. It's called the Sky Tour or something. And maybe coaches were with them. And, that relationship is great. And a lot of the old school journalists, they miss those days. But there's a reason why those days aren't around anymore. Because shit like this, man. Like, if you people would just, rein it in a little, then you may be able to have the kind of relationships that you want. You may be able to have more than 10 minutes at a locker with certain people. You may be able to have a conversation with someone with not a PR guy over your shoulder. Them's the breaks, is what they say in 2025. I don't know what the sweet spot is anymore. It's like it keeps shifting more into the restrictive zone, but I can't blame people for being that way.
I think there's even more repercussions, like you said, larger, like keeping it real, like what? This story probably stays in the news cycle 3 to 4 days max locally, right? Then it goes away.
With us, though, it's gonna be longer because we're going to keep it in the news cycle longer with the 50 people that listen.
Aggregation was big on this, like we've said offline, and you can see it spiral out of control. Sometimes it takes 24 to 48 hours, and then it's everywhere. I saw Awful announcing, then doing this today, 2 to 3 days later. But the things that happen after that, once it gets out of the news, is the team's also sitting down and saying, what's our relationship with our flagship station?
Yes, dude.
And
again,
who knows?
Another layer.
Who knows what that situation's like behind the scenes? Is this a tipping point type thing for a future contract? Or is just this one blip on the radar and we're good? But that's another layer that can last a long time just off of this.
Yeah, and that's where I was kind of mentioning the comms person. It's kind of above his pay grade. It is, but it's
no
not
doubt.
because this is not a decision that you made. This is a decision made by the president and maybe the owner of who they decided they wanted to have as their flagship station. And, maybe the contract calls for this. Maybe their contract is, hey, one of our media personalities will be your sideline reporter. It could be there.
Hey, you're just the babysitter in this. They're not your kids.
No doubt. So, yeah, this could really kick off, maybe it's the end of the relationship between the two. Maybe maybe this is just the last straw and they're done. They're going to move on to do something else. So there's so many layers to this. It's not just the fact that this guy completely, took advantage of his access. It's credentialing. It's access. It's the whole flagship station thing. Are there going to be more repercussions? There's just so many. Are other schools going to start evaluating their situations and teams? And if I were them, I probably would.
Those emails are coming in. What's our policies on our team charter flights? Who's traveling?
No doubt. Yeah, there's some Slack messages and some meetings happening this week in NFL buildings. You can guarantee it that they're happening.
Why aren't they on separate flights to the games?
Maybe that's what happens. Maybe the play-by-play guy and the color guy and the sideline guy, maybe they have to fly commercial.
Hey, you know what? We've dealt with some real pros that have been sideline reporters.
Yeah, this is a total one-off. 99.9% of the people that I have met and been on charter flights, they understand. Or, there's donors that come on the flights. Whoever's head of the donor, group, they tell them, hey, this is private stuff. Don't report on it. I mean, you could tell your wife about it or whatever, but, don't go on social media and say things about, what people's favorite pizza flavors are or something. Just keep that to yourself. And so most of the time, this is not an issue. But, man, in this issue, it was. And I don't know if it just slipped out of his mouth when they were just talking and, hey, you wouldn't believe what I just saw, da-da-da-da. But I want to give the guy the benefit of the doubt because I think then it allows us to be a little bit more curious about how the whole thing works and if it's going to have to get changed.
Well, I think there's some simple takeaways from all of this to remember. If you're not a coach or a player, always keep in mind you're a guest on the team charter flights. Yeah. And this is a work environment, people. You got to be a pro.
Yeah. You can't be a fanboy on these flights, honestly. And I think that's kind of the biggest thing is that when this guy's, I think, is a long-time Tennessee. He's from Tennessee. He's a Tennessee alum. Probably's liked the Titans for his whole career. Good for him for getting this gig, Probably a dream come true. But, at the end of the day, you got to be a pro. And a pro is keeping your mouth shut about team flight stuff. So we'll see what happens with this situation. It's interesting.
Hey, look, our credentials have already been revoked. That's why we're doing this show.
Yeah.
I don't think they can revoke our credentials from this actual show, but stay tuned, people.
Podcast. You get it.
All right, Boggsy, our final segment of the show. As you know, it's the most wonderful time of the year. Playoff bonuses, Christmas bonuses, even end of the year evals. If you work in sports, you're going to be rolling in the eggnog. Boggsy, you like it, eggnog?
I do like it sometimes. Very rarely, but sometimes.
But honestly, who are we kidding? All we're getting is a membership to the Jelly of the Month Club. No large cash bonuses this year to build the Griswold family swimming pool in the backyard.
No pools.
It's the gift that keeps on giving, Boggsy, the whole year. Which leads us to our next convo. We think it's time to normalize incentivizing staffers working extended seasons in the playoffs and also just during the holidays. Some teams do it. We've seen some pro teams reward their staff for a job well done, and we can talk about that, so kudos to those clubs. But we've also seen when all staffers were compensated with was a choice between a $25 gift card to the Sharper Image or Circuit City. Those might have expired.
Maybe.
So, Boggsy, give us your thoughts. What can ADs do to make this a win-win for their department this time of year? Hopefully they've planned for it.
Oh, they haven't. I don't want to give them that much credit. But I think my take is that there's been a lot of talk, and at least this past week, of ADs finally coming around to collectively bargaining with players. This group called Athletes Unlimited is positioning themselves as a union for college athletes and released their proposal as a part of the bargaining idea. I tried to read it and did. Comprehending it, probably not. But it's a very detailed proposal with salary caps, enforcement, portal management, and a lot of other different things. And I encourage everyone to take a look at it. We'll link to it in our show notes. But the point of me mentioning this is pretty simple. The professionalization of college sports is here. ADs know it, and some are openly advocating for it. The NCAA knows it's here too. So in saying that, the next step is for athletic departments to start professionalizing the way they handle their employees. If you advance to the playoff or make a big bowl game or make a deep run in the NCAA tournament, coaches and ADs shouldn't be the only ones receiving bonuses. If you've touched the program in any way, you should be rewarded too. Barca, you can attest, working in the postseason is hard and very labor-intensive, and you should be rewarded for it. It happens in the professional ranks. People get playoff shares the further you advance. And this should be happening in college now. Taking a player to New York for the Heisman presentation is fun, but it's hard work, and you should be rewarded for it. There are some places that do this, but it's just not enough. ADs spread the love. A slight bump in a paycheck is worth quite a bit to a staffer bringing home a small salary. So, Barca, that's the deal, man. Like, just pay people that have to work long hours, man. When they, it's not on the schedule, when the schedule comes out. So.
The Circuit City gift card doesn't do it. Sorry.
No.
I think the main message is you got to take care of your people. And I've seen places do that.
Yeah.
Especially with playoff postseasons. I can give you one example, if you want to call it like rev share with your staff, where we were getting paid bi-weekly. And for every postseason home game that we appeared in, the first time on that 2-week paycheck, we get a 25% bump of whatever our salary was. If we got to the next home game and hosted in the postseason, we got a 50%. And then we got to the next round and hosted 75%. And I remember just being really thankful and sending an email after. I think this is an important thing to do, is just send emails of gratitude or thanks when things like that come, even if it's like a 2% bonus. I know those suck. And so I've seen that happen at places. I know you've had at times being incentivized for seasons as well, working long hours and being away from families. And it just needs to be normalized. The pro side of it does it, I think, a lot better than what I've experienced on the college side.
Yeah.
The college side, this time of year is, well, here are a couple of gift cards. I mean, I don't remember ever being incentivized for working postseasons in college.
Yeah.
And, especially this time of year, football's ending. ADs don't think it's okay just to be like, well, everybody's getting their end of the year bonus or their 2% cost of living increase or whatever, or we've got to cut back this year. And that end of the year bonus doesn't always do it unless you guys are paying well. And most of the time you're not.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you see all the time in the professional ranks where teams aren't required to give bonuses out, but a lot of them do. And, it can be pretty substantial for people. Playoff share for someone making the World Series could be a lot of money. I don't know the total, but I mean, it could be tens of thousands of dollars for somebody making 50. I mean, that's a big deal. And I'm not saying they need to be that big, but I think that they, at least, people need to be acknowledged for what's happening, that it's just not an easy thing to do. Coaches are getting paid to go to the postseason. ADs get bonuses for going to the postseason.
Players.
So why can't players get bonuses for going to the It's happening even in college now. It's being built into their NIL deals that they play in bowl games. Players get bonuses. It's just, why can't staffers? They're working hard too. They need it more than the players do. So that's just my deal. Like, it's just not happening on the college level, but it really should be. And ADs need to step up to the plate and start rewarding these people that are just crushing themselves in December and in March and in May and June when they're in Omaha for 16 days.
Hey, we were just the bottom of the food chain. Senior leadership's just thinking, you know what? They're just happy to get the staff polo. They should just be grateful that they get...
They can ride on the team plane.
5 nights in the DoubleTree,
Yeah.
Great.
It just doesn't reward people for things they need to be rewarded for.
I want to bring up some cool examples that we've seen over the years, both sides of it. And this is both NBA. And you start thinking about an NBA postseason, if you make a deep run, that might be 6 to 8 weeks at least.
Mm-hmm.
You might be going from, I think the postseason's like sometime in April, and you might be playing into late June.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of time and a lot of extra work and a lot of hours. And again, we're all up to the task of what that involves, but taking care of your people. And I thought this was a cool example from back in 2017. The day after the Portland Trailblazers were eliminated from the postseason, Damian Lillard at the time got the rest of the players to sign off on donating their playoff checks to support staff. This quote, here we go. This sums up a lot of it. Sometimes these people can say it much better than at least I can.
Yeah.
We divide our playoff shares to give to the people who we work so closely with because they spend as much time away from their families as we do. And they are just about as invested as we are. They also do as much as possible to make our lives easier, even if it makes theirs more difficult, all while making far less. So it's a further way of showing appreciation beyond a thank you or a handshake. F yeah, man.
Yeah,
Dame
that's
Lillard
really
gets
great.
it. That is awesome. And there was
Yep,
a lot of
that's
great
really
pub
great.
about it when it happened years ago.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Lillard doesn't need the money, but his SID and his communications person does. The marketing person does. His athletic trainer does. Like those people who are grinding every night in the arena, especially the athletic trainers who are with these guys 24/7. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It should be the norm, and it shouldn't be something we should be celebrating, one time and talk. That's something that happened 8 years ago. I mean, that should be happening all the time.
So let's look at the other side of it. And this time we're looking at the Dallas Mavericks. And one of their former employees got on a podcast and said the following about not receiving a customary bonus after the team's 2024 run all the way to the NBA Finals. This was former team employee Mike Marshall. He worked as the team's former VP of content. He claimed the Mavericks employees received bonuses whenever the team went to the playoffs in the past when Mark Cuban was owner. But that all changed with new ownership. He was quoted on the Dumb Zone podcast this past July saying, 99 out of 100 times that an NBA team has gone to the playoffs or finals, according to him, they've gotten playoff bonuses. We've worked for 2.5 extra months. There's very few ways you can tell an employee in a meaningful, impactful way that I care about you and you're valued and I really appreciate what you're doing. Compensation's like number one. It'd be nice for them to just say, thanks for making us some number of millions of dollars per home game, right?
Yeah, those NBA teams, let's say you play 7 games and all of you're the number 1 seed, you play 7 games. There's 3 rounds? So
3 rounds to get to the finals.
Yeah, so there's 12 home games. That's a lot of money. And for the Mavs to keep all of that, that's bad. It's really bad. I bet people left that organization after that. It probably is like Clark Griswold. You're probably like, oh, man, we made the finals. I'm going to get this huge, huge bonus. And nothing comes. So, jelly of the month.
Maybe that's why they got rid of Luka.
Maybe, that's right. Luka didn't get a playoff bonus. He's like, deuces, I'm out.
Well, they didn't want to. It didn't seem like they wanted to pay for his new contract. So
No, they didn't.
And according to this one former employee, they didn't want to give Christmas bonuses, or sorry, not Christmas, postseason bonuses in the spring. So I don't know if the two are related, but like you said, it sends a message, and sometimes you see red flags. And yeah, that'd be a great study. Maybe we could get a grad student out there to do a study. How many employees have changed over from this organization the year after they went to the finals and didn't get playoff bonuses versus how many people changed over in previous years? So I don't know. Hey, we're giving somebody out there the opportunity to do an awesome thesis.
Yeah. But it's just, these owners, man, they can't get enough. It's like we talked about a lot of times on the podcast. Once the greed factor gets in there, you can never get enough. And to keep people from earning well-earned bonuses that they've always received and to not pay them anymore, they really should be kidnapped in an RV and brought with a bow on their head. Honestly. And it's incredible.
How did you feel about moving away from postseason bonuses, but end of the year bonuses?
Mm-hmm.
When you'd have
never got them in sports. Never got them in sports ever. And I believe I may have gotten one in the PR firm that I worked with. I mean, it wasn't a lot, but it was something, Matter of fact, I did receive one, and it was awesome. And I'm sure you received them at the PR firm you worked with. And it's just like the way America does business. And then in sports, they just don't do it that way. Like there were some years we didn't even get a cost of living increase. I mean, it took like a federal law for our salary to go up. It really did. Because if our salary wouldn't have gone up, what would they have had to do? They would have had to pay us overtime. And they did not want to do that because they knew how much overtime we made. And so they bumped us up to the minimum. And it still wasn't a lot, but it took a federal law to raise our salaries. It's probably happened all around sports.
ADs, you got to be intentional about it.
Yeah.
When you start planning for the next fiscal year, think about this like 6 to 8 months ahead. And think about like, We know you found the money for coaches. We know you found the money for NIL and
For
players.
the kids, yeah.
There's money out there to support your staff.
And it wouldn't even be a lot. It's not like you're talking $20.5 million. You may be talking like $500,000 for your staffers. You know, just have some wherewithal about what these guys are doing for you. It's just, I don't know, man. It's bad. Bad.
Yeah, so on the intentional side, I mean, I've seen it. Like you mentioned, I worked for a PR firm that their number one thing was like nurturing their staff culture. They wanted to retain their employees, and they wanted their employees to come in the doors every day and give their best effort because they're working with clients. And guess what we need to do with these clients? We need to retain them.
Right.
And how can we retain them? By our staff giving the best possible effort and want to every day when they get off the elevator and walk into the lobby. It's that simple. Instead, in sports, you have the other side of the machine where it's just like, you know what? 400 resumes are on the desk tomorrow if they're gone.
Yep.
And we've beaten this to death. But change is possible.
It is.
We saw it at the end of Rocky IV. He ended the Cold War, and the Russians were chanting his name.
Yeah.
So this isn't impossible. I don't want to hear it's impossible.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they're looking for all kinds of new revenue streams on the college side, and I'm hoping when they do find these revenue streams, they do think about the people who are grinding it out for them every day. We're been all over this on our podcast. You just have to be better about taking care of people. And they haven't for a really long time. And I hope the Indiana football person and the Vanderbilt football person and the Ohio State football person, all these guys in the Tulane football person, the James Madison football person, who they're dealing with more media than they've probably had all year, requests, and, you know, I'm sure ESPN and TNT are wanting more things from their players and all that stuff. I mean, ADs, give those guys some money. They need it. They need it more than you do. Believe me.
I liked what the Dallas Mavericks employees said in the quote. The thing that stuck out to me was, to show your appreciation, compensation's like the number one thing. So I think about things that were done at past places like, oh, we're going to have, and this is when they wouldn't give out like bonuses, we're going to have a staff luncheon in the team cafeteria and everyone's going to eat together. Hey, look, that's a great thing. We should bond, and it's a good time just for everybody to be around each other during the holiday season. And that's great. There were other times where it'd be like, okay, we'd get hosted at the top person's house and we could bring family members over. They'd have like valets. And honestly, I don't even, and again, it was a nice event, but I really wonder how much money was spent on this fancy type of night. And I start thinking back to this quote now, and I'm like, compensation. I'm like, when these people that make decisions and get at the table, like that money or that bonus or whatever really triumphs everything else. It's like when you get to a certain point in your teen years and you're like, oh my gosh, I got 10 gifts that I really don't want under the Christmas tree, versus like, just give me cash. Cold, hard cash.
What do they say?
I'm looking for $100 bills.
And they'd say CTC. Cut the check. That's what you got to do.
Because if there's money,
cut the check.
If there's money involved, at the end of the day, like to me, I'd rather determine what I get to do with that number, not all of us sitting around eating subpar turkey and gravy with a couple of Christmas cookies in the team dining hall.
But if you're in the SEC, dude, and you have a team, you got 4 teams in the playoff, and then with all the other bowl payouts, I mean, your payout is going to be multi-millions. Even if you don't make you get more if you make the playoff and more if you make the championship. But every team gets a base amount of money. So that's there. The money is there. So maybe they use it to pay coaches' bonuses and ADs' bonuses. I mean, it should be standard. Can you imagine being the guy at Tulane right now? Like, you probably are a 1 or a 2-man show, And there's a lot coming down. You got a coaching change. Your coach is going to coach and then leave. And you're going to have to bring in a new – I don't know if they've named a new coach yet. I think they have. So you're dealing with the transition there. You're dealing with more television exposure and more media. It's just a lot going on right now.
There have been some cool experiences. Unfortunately, I don't remember getting this offer maybe one time to some teams that were family-oriented during postseason travel where – they would extend invites. I know the SID would be able to bring, their partner or family to where you could have your own hotel room. So there are some things I think where I don't want to sound all doom or gloom. There are things out there, like we said earlier with the Trailblazers, what they did in 2017. Some ways that, hey, look, I'm going to be at a bowl football week and, we would be there for 7 days and you could bring family members. Or Omaha was the same way. I think they would do that with the SID where they could bring family members and stuff like that. And that stuff never really trickled down to me. I'm not going to complain about it, but sometimes it's just the right situation to be around. And you see how, back to your original point, people that have more of the money or get more of the money that are more willing to be Santa with the people around them than the Grinch.
Yeah. It just comes down to how much is too much, how much money is enough. Kirby Smart's making $11 million a year. I'm sure he's got bonuses. I mean, what's another million? Like, do you need that other million? Can you maybe help some other people out who work for you who need it? I don't know. I mean, I don't want to give away other people's money. Maybe I'd be the same way I'd be Scrooge McDuck if I was making $10 million a year, but I would hope I would not be.
Hey, I don't need $1 million.
Mm-mm.
You've probably not seen this clip on social, but Carolina Mike out there, Carolina Panthers fan, he says it best. If I had 150,000, what would you do?
Yeah, it doesn't take much. Again, when you're not living on much, it doesn't take much to make your life a little bit better. And, you don't need 100 grand. You need 10. And these ADs and presidents of the Mavs need to figure that out.
Time to wrap it up.
And that's another edition of No Longer Credentialed. Thanks to all of you listening, and if you like it, tell a friend and give it a 5-star rating on your podcast app of choice. Don't forget to check us out on social media at NLC Pod on X, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and YouTube. We'd love to hear from you. Until next week, keep grinding.